I'm excited about the prospect of taking on a different challenge. Can I write a book? I have no idea, but that's really kind of the point. Every show is bad, and I don't know why. It's not like storytelling is some mystery. It's pretty well documented and understood. It's not interesting to take a thing that was good and then twist it, then also assume that that's good. Congratulations, you have taken something good and made it bad. So much stuff comes out. I'll see something online where it's like the final season of Fart Mechanics, and I'm like, what is Fart Mechanics? It's been on for there's been 7 seasons of this show, and I've never heard of it before. Hey, welcome to the Create Unknown, the home of Make Something Mean Something. I am Kevin Lieber, and the big question that I have for myself is, what am I doing with my life? What is going on? I haven't been uploading videos on Vsauce 2. So as far as the world is concerned, I am, I guess, in a cocoon somewhere, some sort of prolonged creative coma, I suppose. But the answer is that I am writing a book. So I've mentioned this briefly, or trying to write a book. I guess it would be more accurate way to describe what I'm doing. So I have this novel idea. It actually needs to be a series of novels. It's called Sleep Warrior, and starting in the end of December, I decided that once we were no longer making the popular science videos, that it was time to revisit working on this book that I've been wanting to write for 5 or 6 years now, something like that. The problem with trying to write a book while also running a YouTube channel is that, there's only so much creative juice in your head jar every day. And spending all of my time working on YouTube videos left no creative jar juice left to work on a book because, as it turns out, you need to have like approximately 10 million ideas to write a book. Obviously, each chapter, first of all, has to be its own short story. So, if you're writing a book, a novel that has 30 chapters, well, now you're writing 30 short stories. And not only are they 30 short stories, but they all obviously have to build upon one another. So they're all interconnected and interrelated. And you have all of these characters and their character arcs and motivations and all of this stuff to think about and weave it all together into, obviously a compelling book that someone would want to read. So it takes a lot of creative juice for sure, at least for me and the way that I want the story to go. I know that there are writers who can just sit down with a very simple premise of a couple of characters and they just start churning out words. And that doesn't work for me. That's not a process that I could follow. So, when I first started reading about writing, which is a weird thing to say, one of the things that I learned quickly is that everybody has a different process. And it's pretty important if you're looking to write a book to figure out what your process is. Some people, for instance, are heavy on outlining and they spend a lot of time outlining everything. And then once the outline is finished, then they can, start actually writing it. Other people don't outline at all. And they just start with a blank page and begin writing. And they sort of figure out what happens along the way. And I would say that I have done a little bit of a blend of that because, I had a premise obviously in mind that I've been wanting to write about for a long time and characters in mind that I've wanted to write for a long time. So the first third or so of this novel I really was able, because I had thought about it for so long that was pretty well prepared to just sort of start writing about the characters and their everyday lives and, sprinkle in the conflicts between them and on all of that without too much trouble. However, I got to chapter 12. I was about to start chapter 12, and I realized that I had already written about 35,000 words. And, if a novel is going to be roughly around 95,000 words or so, well, I was like, oh, crap. Like I'm kind of running out of time in a way in terms of what happens with the rest of this story, because there are a lot of ideas that I have for this world that are not going to fit into one book. So that was the first problem that I had years ago. I had written a manuscript. I had taken a few months off of Vsauce 2 in like 2019 or something like that. I don't remember what year it was. And I wrote a manuscript that was like around 80,000 words or so that I had given to a few people. What do you think of this? And honestly, the best feedback that I got was from our very own Matthew Tabor, who said, you just basically wrote an 80,000 word outline for a series of books. Like all of this stuff that happens here, first of all, has to be dramatically fleshed out. And second of all, will not fit into one book unless you're writing, The Stand or something. And this thing is going to be 1,200 pages, which I don't want to do. I don't want to write some dictionary-sized gigantic book. I would much rather write, a few smaller books that are easier to digest, in a series. So that's what I've been working on since mid-December, like I said, and I think it's going okay. I'm pretty proud of the progress that I have so far. My estimate, based upon how much I've gotten done so far this year, it seems like a decent goal would be to have a rough draft finished by the end of the year. Mm, and by rough draft, I mean like really a rough draft. Like, here's the first draft of this thing. What do I do? What do I do now? What's wrong with it? What don't you like about it? What sucks about it? What doesn't make sense? What characters are not fleshed out well enough, or is anything unmotivated? Was anything unsatisfying? Like that sort of thing. And then having to go back probably and start from scratch with the rough draft in fixing all of what's wrong with it, because I'm sure there'll be plenty of stuff wrong with it. But I guess the first question I think that's worth exploring is like, why bother? Why bother doing this? Like, it is a lot of work. And I mean, I have a YouTube channel that a lot of people like to watch. So I could just keep making videos for that YouTube channel and make people happy there, which is definitely a good thing. But at this point, there are like kind of like a lot of motivations for me. One motivation is just like, I have done really nothing at all except make YouTube videos for like 15 years, something like that, around 15 years or so. That's like all that I've done is lock myself sort of in this hamster wheel of endlessly focusing on a video, uploading it, and then starting from scratch on the next one, and obsess over everything in the script and in the edit and in the thumbnail and in the title and in all of it, and its performance and promotion and the format. Is this format still interesting to people? What would be a more interesting format for people? Like that endless cycle. And I will say that right now it's nice to be taking a break from that, because the challenge of it right now isn't as interesting to me as it was for the previous 15 years. At some point, and I guess the point is 15 years, you have kind of two options there. You're like, do I continue to just do this for the next 15 years? Or do I try to take on a different challenge? And I'm excited about the prospect of taking on a different challenge. Can I write a book? I have no idea, but that's really kind of the point. That's one of the things that I think that we've tried to impress upon listeners with this podcast over the years, in that you just have to do stuff. It's not really all that valuable to think about doing a thing. It's a lot more valuable to just do the thing and then see how it goes. Maybe it will go badly and that's okay. Maybe it'll go okay and that's okay. And maybe it'll go well and that would be great. But at this point, that's what I'm interested in. That's what I'm excited about. And I really like sort of waking up every day and having all of the little machines in my brain focused on this story stuff. Another motivation for me has been my dissatisfaction overall with storytelling recently in the last several years. I mean, I did touch on this in the podcast that I did about Snow White and about movies lying to us. But I think that a lot of storytelling right now is just full of lies. I know it's a weird way to describe it, but there's a lot of storytelling that does not reflect the nature of reality, in my estimation, and for one reason or another. And I find it exhausting. I find so much of the tropes of modern storytelling to be so boring. Like what was the one that I mentioned recently? Oh, I was talking about, like, what if the bad guy was actually good? Like, that trope is just so freaking boring to me. It's such a easy crutch where people think like, oh, that'll be interesting. There's a new story. There's a new take. What if what if the Wicked Witch was actually misunderstood? And what if the orcs from Lord of the Rings actually, had families that they cared about? And like, oh my gosh, that is so lame and not at all interesting to me. I just think it's a cop out and it's lazy. That's my opinion on those sorts of stories. 'Cause I think there's a lot of really lazy storytelling. Charles Kahn in the episode chat mentions a lot of evil Superman books. Yeah, what if Superman actually was a bad guy? Oh man, all of the Superman stuff has sucked for a while because of this insistence on, well, what if we made Superman in like a dystopian world and Superman actually was a bad guy and people hated Superman? I'm like, oh my gosh, that is really, really boring. And I know you think that's clever. Like, this is the problem with this type of storytelling, is that there are plenty of people who think this is clever. Okay. It's not clever. It's like, I don't know, like holding up a glass of water and you think, wow, wouldn't it be interesting if I turned the glass of water upside down? And the answer is no. Now you just spilled water everywhere. Like, that sucks. That's not interesting at all. What if this thing that was this way, what if I turned it upside down? Really? Like, that's all you have? That's the genius new angle that you're going to approach to blow everybody's mind? What if this one thing was turned upside down? Oh man, that is I'm so tired of it. I'm just really, really, really tired of lazy writing that is supposed to be clever and interesting, but all it is like a neat little trick where they just twist a thing a little bit. They twist an already established and interesting thing. They kind of screw with it. Like, what if we just screwed with this thing that everybody liked? That would be interesting. And to me, no, it's not. It's not interesting. It's not interesting to take a thing that was good and then twist it and then also assume that that's good. No, now you've just made something that's bad. Like, congratulations with your genius quick minds, your galaxy brains. You have taken something good and made it bad. And there's so much bad in storytelling now everywhere. It just seems like so much of this stuff just sucks. And the weird thing, like probably the weirdest thing to me about it is that it seems like it sucks. Like a lot of people think it sucks to begin with, like the idea sucks. Then the thing comes out and it does suck and people don't like it. And then they just do it again. Like, well, the last 7 times that we did this, it sucked. But, I think we'll get it right this time. Let's just make this crap again and see if it lands. And it doesn't land. It's not landing. None of it is landing. Just stop with this crap. But it doesn't seem to be slowing down or ending anytime soon. So anyway, that is a bit of a diatribe for me to say that, like, I'm tired of fake and lies and cheap tricks in storytelling because it's a waste of everybody's time. And there are a million ways to still tell great stories that I think seems really underserved right now in the market in general, in all video games, in movies, in TV shows. It 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 definitely reeks in some ways of like how the old days were better. And I'm sorry if this comes across that way, but it's hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that storytelling was better before, and we're in like a horrible slop phase with almost all of it, which I think is measurable. Like I think that a lot of the bombs in the movie industry really lead you to believe that I'm not just complaining. Like this is an actual problem, and I don't really know how it's going to get better. And I don't know if the story that I'm writing is any good at all, and if people will like it, or if it'll just be ignored, and that will be fine too. But I mean, the reason that I got into YouTube and what excited me about YouTube initially was that there was just so much potential there for making content that no one else was making, especially in the old days, in the early days of YouTube. There was green pastures in that medium, and you can just kind of do anything you wanted to. And whether it was good or bad, just throwing it up there and seeing if people liked it was really exciting and really fun for me. And I've made a lot of different types of content, over the years. And I do think that YouTube in particular is in a really strong place right now. I don't know if that's a controversial opinion that people would disagree with. But as far as I'm concerned, I think like almost no matter what you're interested in, there is probably at least one or two full-time YouTube creators making phenomenal content about it, like making gorgeous videos about it. Like I'm blown away by some of the editing and some of the risk taking, and like the travel type videos where people go all over the world and show you crazy stuff. I mean, the stuff that like Tom Scott was doing for years, where I mean, Tom Scott, man, that dude was grinding like a maniac for like a decade, just doing all kinds of wild stuff and visiting bizarre locations and teaching you all about it. I mean, and he's just one example of many. I think there are many, many YouTubers, whether you're interested in travel or technology or science or D&D or whatever it is, art and drawing. You're interested in how to survive in Alaska. I know there's I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but there's some channel that gets like 20 million views plus per video of this guy and his sons, I think. And I believe that they live in like remote Alaska, and they just make videos about, well, here's how you survive when it's 50 below out. And we just dig this hole and we build this little thing. And here's how we stay warm. I mean, there's just like so much incredible content on YouTube, no matter what you're interested right now, that in some ways for me, I feel like, I don't know, it's covered. Like people have got it covered. I'm amazed and blown away and in awe in many ways of the state of YouTube right now in terms of the creators on there. There are just so many unbelievable people making great, great content that I don't think that same same thing applies right now in terms of storytelling. Like I don't know what the problem is exactly. I mean, certainly I have some theories about it, but I don't know. It's just frustrating. So much stuff comes out too. Like I can't even believe I'll see something online where it's like, you know, Fart Mechanics season 7, the final season of Fart Mechanics. And I'm like, what is Fart Mechanics? It's been on for 7. There's been 7 seasons of this show and I've never heard of it before. Like there are just so many shows now. I don't even know who's watching all of this stuff or if really anybody is. But there are so many shows that are completely forgettable. And maybe that's why, maybe the fact that they're so forgettable and disposable is why nobody sort of rallies around things. But even the big shows, even the big shows that they have like hundreds of millions of dollars to pour into these projects and they come out and they're just boring. Like House of the Dragon season 2 was like watching paint dry. I sat through that entire season, and by the end of it, like literally I was like, I do not care what happens to any of these people at all. I just spent 2 seasons and how many hours? 18 hours or something with all of these characters and their conflicts. And by the end of that second season, they're like finally getting into war or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I don't even care anymore. I don't even care about this war anymore. All of these characters I could leave, take it and leave. And I'm out. Like I'm out. And you spent how much money on this thing and how many people worked on it. And it's like visually gorgeous. And in this story and the characters are just boring. Like, how did you screw that up? Like, why is it so hard? I don't really know why it's so hard, but Jeff Strife in the chat mentions the new Daredevil show. I haven't watched that because I heard it was horrible. I heard that the new Daredevil was really bad, and I have watched. I loved the Netflix Daredevil series. I thought it was fantastic, and I've heard nothing but bad things about the Disney Plus Daredevil thing, that it's just more Disney Plus slop. So I haven't watched it because, if everybody I know says this thing is crap, then I'm not going to subject myself to it. I just feel like everything is bad. Every show is bad. And I don't know why. Like, it's not like storytelling is some mystery. There are a lot of rules that you can follow to tell a good story in terms of starting your character at one place and having them go through some sort of journey and some sort of development, personal development. And there's some nemesis that's trying to stop them. I mean, the whole idea of a character arc is like not alchemy. It's pretty well documented and understood. So, like, for instance, what did I like? A show that I really liked was the Punisher Netflix show. Why did I like the Punisher Netflix show? The Punisher Netflix show was, it was an analysis or an exploration of post-traumatic stress disorder in soldiers. So that's really what that show is at its core, is that you have all of these different soldiers coming back from war, okay, and you explore how the different soldiers deal with it. And the Punisher deals with it in one way, and the other guy, it's been I don't know how many years since I watched it, but if you watch that show again, watch it through the lens of how soldiers deal with post-traumatic stress disorder, because that's what the show is about. And good storytelling has that sort of base level thematic element in it. It's not just stuff happening. And that's how I feel like a lot of these shows are. It's just stuff happening. This happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. Trey Parker and Matt Stone had a great thing years ago about storytelling, where they explained how bad storytelling is this, then this, then this, then this. And then good storytelling is this because of this, or but this, in between all of those sort of beats. So rather than you just going in a straight line from this happens and then this happens, it's like this happens because that happened, and then this happens, but that happened. And there's like a push and pull. You always want to have some sort of push and pull on a character in order to get them to the finish line. Otherwise, it just is boring. And a lot of stuff is just boring now. So, as far as like what Sleep Warrior is, it's hard for me to sit here and kind of tell you the details of it because I I don't feel comfortable kind of giving away what it's about. I don't know. It seems in my mind to like undermine the whole point of it. I mean, I'm the type of person, first of all, who like doesn't even like watching trailers to movies because I think trailers give away too much of movies. So if there's like a movie that I'm really interested in, I won't even watch anything about it ahead of time because because I'll remember like a scene from the trailer and then I'll be thinking about when that's going to happen, and that ruins the experience to me. Maybe I'm just weird in that respect, but um, I will say that like the whole concept of reality and dreams is a major part of Sleep Warrior, obviously. Well, not obviously, but that's what the Sleep Warrior is. And a lot of the characters are idiosyncratic. So, that was another thing that I really wanted to talk about that I find boring in a lot of stories is how, um, what would you say? So many characters in everything are devoid of idiosyncrasies. Like they're not weird. They don't really have anything weird about them. Everybody just seems like kind of like an NPC in a lot of ways, to me at least. So to give an example of like storytelling that I don't that I feel are like full of idiosyncratic characters, the Coen brothers make movies that are full of idiosyncratic characters. Virtually any Coen brothers movie that you could watch is amazing in my opinion because of how weird all of the characters are. So like the Big Lebowski, you have Walter, who's the Vietnam vet. You have Donnie, who's this meek, like very, very meek character. Everyone in the Big Lebowski has something very unique and strange about them. Walter has this whole thing about his ex-wife and her dog and him practicing Judaism. And he has all of these little ticks and all of these little things that really just make him him. They make him unique and unforgettable. Yeah, Charles Conn just shared a gif of the Jesus from the Big Lebowski. Like that guy, what I love about a character like the Jesus in that movie is like he's barely in the movie and he's so memorable. You never forget that character, and he's on screen for like 2 minutes and he does almost nothing. It's not like he has some great gigantic important role in that film. He's just kind of there. He's their like bowling adversary, and you never ever forget that character. But all of the Coen Brothers movies, the Hudsucker Proxy, Fargo, basically anything that they've ever done, falls into this category. Even a serious thing like No Country for Old Men, which it obviously is an adaptation of the Cormac McCarthy novel. But the way that the Coen Brothers do it is just unforgettable. They create this world full of these characters that are so strange. But my point is, that's what real life is like. Like, that's what people are really like. People are not these like bland NPCs. Like, no matter who you think in your life is like the most boring person ever, I guarantee there is something about that boring person that is bizarre. Some hobby that they have, or some routine that they have, something that makes them boring can actually be really interesting. And I don't know. It seems like we've forgotten to do that, or like very few stories, in my opinion, really seem to highlight that, like highlight how weird people are. Because everybody, I've long had this belief, and the way that I have seen the world is just just constantly amazed and blown away by how weird people are. Whatever their little obsession is, or like there's a guy that I met a few months ago who him and his wife are obsessed with lawn decorations, like holiday lawn decorations. Obsessed. So, like for Christmas, their entire lawn is completely decked out in all kinds of like inflatable or plastic Santa Clauses and reindeer and little elves and everything like that. I mean, they have dozens and dozens of these things. And and they travel all over the place. They travel like all over the country to different auctions and yard sales and whatever to acquire more of these. Okay? Like this is their thing. And it's not just Christmas, the same thing for Thanksgiving, the same thing for Halloween, the same thing for the 4th of July. Like there are always more of these plastic decorations for their lawn to acquire and to search out. And this is how they spend their time. And like this is something that they bond over, and they go on family trips to like pick up different lawn ornaments. Like that is really interesting to me. That's a fascinating character, because I cannot relate to that at all. Not even a little bit. There is no iota of me that would want to drive like 4 hours round trip to pick up a plastic Santa Claus. I do not want to do that. Okay. And not only do I not want to do that, like on one end of the spectrum, this is like the thing that they want to do. This is like their thing that they like think about and makes them happy and brings them joy and brings them connection and allows them to stand out in the neighborhood and is like forms part of their identity as who they are. Like we're the lawn ornament people. Okay. That is who we are. This family is a lawn ornament family. And we're unique in that respect, because this is not something that everybody else does. This is what we do. Okay. You can find some sort of analog to the lawn ornament family in everyone. In everyone. And I don't know why, but it seems like storytelling ignores this almost completely. So my favorite book of all time is called A Confederacy of Dunces. And this book is like all about that. So every character in this book is just oozing weirdness and personality. And you get such a sense of who they are by how they talk, who they talk to, how they treat the other person, what upsets them, what makes them happy, all of the things that happen in real life. Yeah. Like that's what a story should be able to do. It should be a reflection of the world in all of its stupidity and all of its glory and everything that's ugly about people and everything that's beautiful about people, rather than, I don't know, just this cookie cutter like slot machine that has seemed to be churning out crap after crap after crap in all different kinds of genres. It's like, here's just the next pile of crap that, because you have to ask yourself, like, what is even the purpose of sitting down and watching a story? Well, one purpose would be to just kill some time, to be, mildly or maybe better than mildly entertained for an evening, to throw something on and just forget about all of the hardships and stresses that you have during the day and just watch these other people go through their hardships. Vicariously solve problems, like by watching Sherlock Holmes solve real problems, solve his problems, and maybe feel a little bit better about your own. But to me, like the best stories tell you more about yourself and other people. even if it's someone that you can't relate to at all, almost especially in a lot of ways, someone that you can't relate to at all. Someone from a completely different background who has completely different challenges and a different way of seeing the world. Like, that's interesting. You're learning and growing from that. I mean, the very mechanism of storytelling is the oldest form of learning. It's the oldest form of teaching is by telling stories. It's so funny. There was an exchange I had on Discord last week where I was talking about the Babe movie, which is about a talking pig who herds sheep. I mean, it's been like 25 years since I watched Babe, but I remember really liking it. And it was a great movie. I mean, it was nominated for, Picture of the Year at the Oscars. But I was saying how, like, Babe, even though it's about a talking pig, like, that's a real story. Like, that film is an actual reflection of a deeper truth of humanity. And someone was like, yeah, but it's about a talking pig. And like, that's obviously not true. It's like, yeah, that part of it's not true in the sense that there are no talking pigs, but it's true at a much deeper level, which is a more important level where the wrapper of it doesn't really matter. The wrapper, the wrapper around the product doesn't really matter. And the thing that I thought of immediately was Aesop's Fables, because Aesop's Fables, I mean, how old, first of all, are Aesop's Fables? I actually don't know the answer to that. Does anybody actually know the answer to that? Do we have like a record of when, I mean, even if there were a record of when they were written, who knows how long those stories were told before they were written? So the episode chat says between 620 and 564 BC. It's a collection of morality tales credited to Aesop. So yeah, over 2,000 years old. But who knows how long those stories were told before that? And those stories are all about like talking animals and stuff. That was my point with like the Babe connection. It's like, yeah, I mean, the idea of talking animals providing some sort of like deeper meaning about the nature of reality is a pretty old idea. It's a pretty old concept, since that human beings have, put that wrapper around a more important story and put it in like a fantastical mechanism for delivering it. So like, it's like the argument about what is the argument about like dragons not being real? So like the rest of the story doesn't have to be real. Like, that's not true at all. That is not even a little bit true. Like, just because a story has dragons in it doesn't mean that the rest of the story, like the deeper meaning of the story, shouldn't deeply reflect reality. Those things do not correlate at all. If anything, it's almost the opposite. It's like you should have fantastical elements to deliver a true story, because it captures people's imaginations, and it also like allows the storyteller to remove themselves a little bit, or remove the audience a little bit from their world while telling a story about their real world, about their world. And that's what fairy tales do. And who knows how old fairy tales are? Like Rapunzel with her extremely long hair. Oh, your hair couldn't actually grow that long, and a prince couldn't actually climb up a princess's hair. It would, it'd rip the follicles out of her scalp, and it would hurt so much. Oh my God, please stop. Please stop. Look up the word symbolism. Symbolism is the point of pretty much all storytelling. And I think there's a lot of symbolism that's missing right now from storytelling. It's just too literal and boring, and everyone is an NPC, and they don't have any idiosyncrasies. And it's just exhausting. So that's been part of my motivation for writing a story that I think that I hope and that I want to kind of go back to the basics a little bit when it comes to characters and how they're developed and how they interact and what makes them interesting and how hopefully people can see either themselves or someone that they know in those characters. Like all of those things are what I think makes a good story. Not necessarily, a bunch of superheroes getting together to save the world from another doomsday device or some sort of, it's going to end, it's going to blow up the universe and we have to stop them. And okay, but why? Like, why do you have to stop them? Do I care? Do I even care about the people who are trying to stop them? Is there any sort of allegory about this that's not just surface level and boring and what everybody else is doing? I don't know. Or political, which I also think is almost always really boring. So I do have a Twitter account for Sleep Warrior that you can follow if you haven't followed that yet. It's just at Sleep Warrior, and I'm trying to give updates on like how the progress is going with everything. So I forgot to mention that. So I wrote these rough draft chapters, and then since then I've taken a break to try to outline the rest of it because I want the rest of it to all be satisfying and interesting and tied together and lead somewhere and have, the characters actually have satisfying arcs and all of that stuff that makes for good storytelling and, not just drop the ball on all of it. Like my dad was telling me there was some show that he was watching that was a slow burn show. Everything happened at a very, very snail's pace. And then at the end, they just wrapped up like 2 seasons worth of slow burn in like 45 minutes. They just like speed ran the rest of the story. And he was like so annoyed and bothered by that because it's unsatisfying. It's totally unsatisfying to then just check a bunch of boxes real quick at the end of the story. Be like, oh yeah, and then this guy did that, and then this guy did that, and then that person did this, and then they were happy because of that, and the end. That's yeah, that's not really a satisfying way to tell a story, is to just in the final chapter just speed run sentence by sentence, closing the door on everything that you just spent 29 chapters setting up. So those are the types of pitfalls, obviously that I am trying to avoid here. I'm not trying to write a book just to write a book. I'm certainly not trying to write a book to sell 1 million copies of it, because that's basically impossible. All I would like to do with this is have something at the end that people can look at and say, that was pretty good. Or I enjoyed that. Or I don't regret reading that. That would be definitely enough for me. It's like that cliche YouTube comment where you say, "Oh, I'll never get that. That's 8 minutes I'll never get back," like that sort of thing. That is really the worst comment that you could get. That's the worst reaction you could get from somebody is them just feeling like you completely stole a portion of their life with something that you created. The worst is when you've spent, 100 hours on something, turned it into 8 minutes, and then someone regrets even the 8 minutes that they spent with it. Oh, that's a rough one. So maybe at some point down the road, I'll talk more about what the book is actually about, but I don't know. I cannot actually promise that. I don't know how comfortable I am with getting into it. Maybe I'll talk to Matt about it at some point and see what he thinks. But please follow the Sleep Warrior accounts and keep it in the back of your mind that this is what I'm doing. So this is what I'm working on. There's not really a lot to show publicly because I'm not going to tweet chapters of this thing and spoil it for everybody, especially because it's just a rough draft. But it's a story that I'm hoping that has characters that you like, that you understand, that maybe you have people in your life who they remind you of, that each time you finish a chapter, you're excited to find out what happens next. that is funny, and which is another thing I really didn't talk about, is like books are never funny. Like why, like, maybe I'm just reading the wrong books, but every book is that I do read is just overly serious. And life is funny. Real life is full of funny moments. And that seems to be largely ignored, at least in the books that I've read, where there's very little humor in them, even like naturally woven in funny moments or awkward moments or anything like that. Everything is just so serious. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention is that I do have some like personal philosophy stuff that I will be weaving into the book as well, like how I understand the world, how I see the world, what the world is to me. And hopefully that resonates with people as well. I don't know. I guess we'll see. But anyway, the whole point of this podcast is that I am tired of boring storytelling. So I am taking a leap and taking time away from making videos to see if I can do something that I don't hate. Because that's a pretty good place to start if you want to create anything, whether you want to make music or you want to start a podcast or you want to make YouTube videos or you want to write a book, is you really should be motivated by making something that you like, that you're happy with, and that you hope that one other person is happy with as well. So I don't know. We will see. All right. That's it for this week. Thank you to all of my, the patrons for joining the recording. Thanks to all the patrons for supporting the show. If you want to support the podcast, go to patreon.com/thecreateunknown. And I'll be back next week. All right. Have a great week. Be safe and productive and have some fun. All right. That's it. See you, Space Cowboys.
Thanks for listening to The Create Unknown. We make this show with the support of our patrons. 100% of that goes directly to keeping episodes going every week. And the recent support has been amazing. Sidpoke, NRM, Venture Addicts, Weezer Good, you all really do make this show happen. Thank you to the Tots and the Dumpster crew, old and new, who save tiny little lives every month. And thank you to our grizzled, battle-hardened child infantry. Clemente de los Santos, Dan the Latch, Demetrius Andrews, Erica, Ferry-kun, Jen Mathasanti, Kevin Menard, Mikhail Steinke, Monahim, Natsu, Penny Piddler, Ryan Steer, Ryan Kinder, Samuel Manser, Sean S., Sean Malone, and Tom Bidiover. And a tremendous shout-out to our elite baby gang commanders. Atrocious Scuff, Kat, Dojangles, Graham Robertson, James Gallagher, Jeff Davis, Orange Vanilla Coke, Patrick Pister, TCU's personal pilot Andy, Ryan Carroll, Baseweight Vinthos, Yeetus Deletus, Jonas Walter, Nathan Robinson, and of course, Trev Stead. You are the elite. Thank you as well to our indentured servants, producer, editor Ben Webster, Minecraft mogul Laterman, Discord kitten wrangler Conrad, and producer emeritus Dan Yosua. Thanks to Baseweight for use of Created in the Unknown for the opening theme. Thanks to Electro Voice for giving us mics to sound good on top of it, and thanks to Main Gear for powering all our PC endeavors. The Create Unknown is an Unknown Media production in partnership with Studio 71.